And an update on a story we reported on last week. Fintech giant PayPal has reinstated 3 related accounts they had shut down, that of the Free Speech Union, the Daily Skeptic, and a key figure behind both organizations. Toby Young is the outlet's editor-in-chief and the union's founder and general secretary. And he says that while he's still waiting for PayPal to explain the reason behind the shutdowns, that it should be illegal for financial services companies to discriminate against customers based on their political beliefs. I spoke with him earlier today. Toby Young, welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This week, PayPal reinstated your account and the accounts of the Daily Skeptic and the Free Speech Union. What did it take to get the accounts opened again?
Well, it took a gargantuan effort on my part. Certainly, appealing the decision to close all 3 accounts to PayPal had no effect at all. Complaining about it to PayPal had no effect. I wrote to the CEO of PayPal UK. He didn't reply. I contacted the corporate affairs departments in the US and the UK of PayPal, no response. But it was only when a question was asked in Parliament, when the decision was more or less universally condemned across the British media, and then 42 peers and MPs from all political parties wrote to the business secretary, Jacob Rees-Mogg, demanding that he hold PayPal to account, and then he confirmed that he would be doing precisely that. That was enough in the end to persuade PayPal to switch my accounts back on. Nothing short of that worked. And while PayPal has since apologized, why do you think your accounts were initially targeted and shut down? Well, I can only speculate because PayPal still haven't really provided an explanation. They initially said it was because on the Daily Skeptic website we were promoting hate, violence and racial intolerance, which is obviously complete nonsense. And then they said they followed up with a different reason, which is that the Daily Skeptic account, they said, was spreading COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. And as we know, COVID vaccine misinformation is often a euphemism for just anyone who raises any reservations about the COVID-19 vaccine. So it might have been that. Who knows? They kept changing the reason, and when they eventually restored the accounts, they maintained that they'd only ever been under review, and they'd now decided that we'd passed this review, and so they were switching them back on. I think they clearly just didn't like my politics, weren't fans of the Free Speech Union or the Daily Skeptic, and only when they were asked why they'd done it did they come up with a succession of spurious reasons, which they eventually abandoned. You've likened consumer brands deplatforming people to China's social credit system. Could you elaborate on that? Yes, well, I think we're all aware of China's social credit system, whereby if you criticize the communist authorities, you risk losing access to your bank account. And that's now beginning to happen in the West. So PayPal deplatforming groups and individuals whose perfectly lawful views the company disapproves of, I think is an example of something like the Chinese-style social credit system being introduced in the West, except instead of ideological conformity being enforced by the Communist Party, it's being enforced by woke corporations in California. But it's a very sinister development, and we need to nip it in the bud. And what do you think this incident says about the state of free speech in the West? I think it's an alarming new battlefront in the war, the ongoing assault on free speech. I set up the Free Speech Union more than 2.5 years ago, and I thought things had reached a nadir when it came to free speech. But actually, since then, things have got significantly worse. And I think demonetizing people, using the financial services sector as a way to shut down dissent and skepticism about things like the vaccines, the COVID lockdown policy, climate emergency, and so forth. That's a new sinister development in the war on free speech, and we need to do something about it quickly. You're now lobbying for a couple of bills being proposed in the UK Parliament. Could you tell us more about that? Well, there are a few. What we want to do is amend a bill that's currently going through Parliament to make it unlawful for financial services companies to discriminate against their customers on the basis of their perfectly lawful political opinions. And we're looking at which is the right bill to amend, and we're drafting an amendment, and we hope to have one ready to send to parliamentarians next week. And I think there'll be quite a lot of support for that amendment in Parliament, particularly within the Parliamentary Conservative Party. And I'm hoping the government will simply accept the amendment without there needing to be a vote about it in the House of Commons. There seems to be, real momentum now behind this effort, and real political support for reining in these out-of-control companies like PayPal.
Toby Young, General Secretary of the Free Speech Union, thank you so much.
Thank you.